Oh, g'day viewer, Big Kev here on the V-Strom. Just about to hit the dirt here. I'm at the back road from my hometown of Admiralty going to Canberra. Now this year we celebrate, or it's the 50th year since Apollo 11 moon landing. And what I want to do is show you a place, or a couple of places here, where Australia's involvement in the television broadcast of that event.
Well, as you can tell by the audio, it's not the best of quality. So unfortunately through this video, in some instances, I will have to do a bit of a voiceover. But what I was saying here is there's a few tracking stations not far from where I live, and one very important one of Honeysuckle Creek. And that one is where the first moon landing, all the pictures that the world saw live came from Honeysuckle Creek in Australia, not far from where I live. So I'll do a tour a bit further up through this dirt road, and I'll take you to a few of the tracking stations and where they are now. We're off the dirt. This is a little slippier than normal. Might have something to do with no rain for the last couple of months. Well, viewer, I've never been down here. This is goes to Orroral tracking station, or where it used to be. It's only cement slabs now. Now, like I said, I've never been here, so we'll go there for a look. This is the former Orroral tracking station. It was in force from 1965 to 1984. We'll have a walk around and a bit of a look. Notable missions. The station took part in many notable missions, including the first international rendezvous in space between Russian cosmonauts and American astronauts in 1975, and the first flights of the space shuttle Columbia in 1981, commanded by John Young and Bob Crippen, who later visited Orroral Valley. How cool is that? And this is where the dish used to be. Built by NASA in 1965. Had a diameter of 26 metres, height of 36 metres, and it weighed 400 tonnes. Wow, that's awesome. Here's Skippy over there, behind the bushes. Up in the trees. Waiting for the V-Strom. Well, we'll head off to Honeysuckle Creek. This is
Apollo Road.
A few moments later.
Looks like here we are. So this is where it all happened. Now there is an Australian movie called The Dish, which is about the big telescope at Parkes. I'll find a picture and put it up. And due to heavy winds on that day, I think it's 100km/h wind, 60mile/h winds, and a 33-degree or 30-degree tilt on the antenna, it could not do the pictures, but Honeysuckle Creek could. And that's what you first saw in 1969, in July 1969. And I do remember it. It looked like it was yesterday, when we watched Neil Armstrong land on the moon and say them immortal words.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
He did say, he was supposed to have said, or it got lost in the when it was being transmitted, it was supposed to be one small step for a man and one giant leap for mankind. Let's go up for a wander. So this is where the first pictures came. And if you want to see an interesting video, I'll put a link in the description. It is the full 16 minutes, I think it is, or 13 minutes, from their approach to the moon to the actual landing. And you can check out Neil Armstrong's heartbeat on this thing. And when he took manual control over the spacecraft, and a few alarms came up. Cool head. But yeah, great video to watch. I'll whack it in the description. Yeah, I'm just reading this, and I saw a YouTube video on just how far away the moon is. And it's pretty close. If you've got a basketball and a tennis ball representing the moon, how far away, and it's pretty close to scale actually, a tennis ball and a basketball comparison. How close do you think that tennis ball would be to the Earth? Now, I'm going to tell you in a second. But some people go, oh, about that far away, you know, or arm's length. It would have to be 24 feet away. That is how far the moon is technically from the Earth. So if you've got a tennis ball and basketball, you move them 24 feet away from each other, that'll tell you the relative size. Quite a distance them fellas travelled. 3 blokes locked up in a little tube, little cylinder in a capsule. My goodness. But it was such a fantastic event at the time. So check the description. I'm going to put a link to a couple of videos in there you may find interesting. But where they moved the dish from here, they moved it to Timbilla. I can't say it now. Timbilla tracking station, and it's operational, except the dish is not. They decommissioned it, but it wasn't NASA. Aeronautical and Weather Nautical decided that it was a historic thing, so they left it standing there, even though it's not in use. So we'll go over and have a look, eh? Hope you find this interesting, because I love space stuff. Always have. Didn't realise they were that big. And this one here, shame I can't send the drone up here. That one there, that's facing directly up, is the antenna they used for the moon landing from Honeysuckle Creek. That is now decommissioned, that one. Yeah, so Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon and we all watched it. We watched it by that fish. Pretty cool.
I proceeded to the display centre here, and I had to turn off all Bluetooth and Wi-Fi instruments, so I can only take a few photos from inside. Very interesting. Spacesuits and how they work. Moon rock. There's even a Mars lander in there, model of a Mars lander. It's really great display. Well worth a visit. If you're ever in the area, pop in, have a look at the Deep Space Communications Centre. Well worth a visit. Anyway, if you watched the video this far, thanks very much, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.